Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your latest Manchester United news. Is it all over for Kobbie Mainoo? A huge report has come out from The Athletic today from Laurie Whitwell and Mark Critchley around Kobbie Mainoo. And it's not good reading. It really isn't. And look, we spoke earlier on in the week that there was murmurings that, you know, he could potentially leave. He's not too happy at Manchester United. He hasn't got a minute yet this season. And look, we're going to dive right into it, guys. As always, please do smash a like in the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and we'll talk about it right away. We'll go through some of the talking points. Basically, what it's been said is that Kobbie Mainoo is unwilling to sign a new contract at Manchester United, and can you blame him? That's what I would say first and foremost. And I can see it from both sides, and we're going to get into it from both sides here as well. I don't blame him, to be quite honest with you. He's found himself out of favour at Manchester United under Ruben Amorim, and when you hear the manager saying after the Fulham game last week that he's in direct competition now with Bruno Fernandes for that position, and that's a Bruno Fernandes who's captain of the club. It's a Bruno Fernandes that's never dropped. It's a Bruno Fernandes that's always available. And it's a Bruno Fernandes that's very rarely substituted. I don't blame Kobbie Mainoo for not wanting to sign a new contract. Now, he's got a contract up until 2028, basically. United have got 2 years left on his current deal, and obviously they've got that 1 year extension on it. And look, when we're talking about what he earns currently at Manchester United, the Athletic have said, of course, that Mainoo currently earns around £20,000 per week. He was hoping for a substantial raise, potentially up to 10 times his current salary, but the club were reluctant to agree when he was playing regularly. And I mean, as good as Kobbie Mainoo's start to his Manchester United career was, there's no way he was going to earn 200 grand a week as a 19, 20-year-old. And rightly so. I don't think Manchester United made a mistake in not giving him a new deal with that amount of money. Absolutely not. And when United have got him under contract for the length of time that he does have, I think the ball is in Manchester United's court. And look, I mean, ultimately, I seen the report suggesting it was going to be around 200,000, 180 to 200,000 that Kobbie Mainoo was looking for a week with his new deal. And you're not getting that. You are absolutely not getting that as a 19, 20-year-old academy graduate who is, while absolutely a fantastic footballer, you're nowhere near your peak, and that's peak career money. It really is. And we know that over the last couple of years since Ineos have come in, they've tried and they've made getting salary, I suppose, the peak salaries that they were paying, they're trying to get it under control an awful lot more. Now, we see that there's still players there, Casemiro being the main one on huge salaries that they're trying to potentially move on. And, of course, we moved on Marcus Rashford as well, who was on massive money. So they're trying to get the wage structure under control, and to give a 19 or a 20-year-old 200 grand a week is not going to suffice with that kind of mentality going forward. And we need to do that. We really do. Do I think Kobbie Mainoo deserves more than 20 grand a week? Yes, I do. But if he's not willing to negotiate a more realistic fee, then I can understand why United are just going to be comfortable with the situation and say, no, we're happy to stay where we are. Now, when it comes to him potentially moving on, obviously, there has been interest and there has been murmurings going back as far as January for a potential departure for Kobbie Mainoo. And again, the Athletic report says when Chelsea inquired about his availability during the January window, Stamford Bridge officials were quoted a £70 million asking price. There is a belief now that United would now accept around £45 million for Kobbie Mainoo, which is a massive cut price to what we would have sold him for in January. And look, we heard these murmurings that Ineos were open to selling him. Is this down to maybe the manager saying, you know, he doesn't fit my plans, he's not maybe good enough for the system we play? I don't know. And there is a big debate here now as to whether Ruben Amorim should get the final say as to whether Kobbie Mainoo was moved on. And look, we know that he has struggled to fit into the system under Ruben Amorim, and that's quite understandable. But you can't have a two-way street when it comes to, and the majority of the fan base have been saying under Ruben Amorim, back the manager, give him what he wants, let him make the decisions, get him the players that he needs to fit the system. You can't say that for players who have already been here and not worked and moved them on, And then for an academy graduate, if he falls under the same bracket in the manager's eyes, go, no, that's not right. You can't be doing that. It's if you're going to give the manager and the structure that's behind him, whether that's Wilcox, Vivell, whoever else is organising the squad and trying to build a squad, if they decide that Kobbie Mainoo ultimately is not good enough or doesn't fit the system and we're going to back the manager, he's got to fall into the same category as somebody who's not an academy graduate. Do I want to see Kobbie Mainoo leave Manchester United? Absolutely not. I do not want to see him leave Manchester United. But ultimately, if he's not getting into the team and he wants to move on and we can get a proper fee for him, I don't think it should be this summer, but if it's going to be next summer, if the player wants to move on and let's say this season doesn't go according to plan for him again and he finds himself in and out of the team, then if we get a proper valuation for him, then I can see him leaving. Not that I want him to leave, but I can see him leaving. Now, if he's in direct competition with the likes of Bruno Fernandes, does Kobbie Mainoo say, well, let me bide my time here a little bit? Is the whole rumour mill around Bruno Fernandes coming to the point where, you know, in 12 months' time, I might have a better opportunity to go and play and get minutes and start building my reputation? We've got to understand here as well, guys, that Kobbie Mainoo is 20 years of age, okay? He is not a 24, 25, 26-year-old player that's at the peak of his powers. He's 20 years of age and he's still got an awful lot to learn. Now, I think the reasoning around why we're in this little situation where we find it hard to understand why he's not playing is because he started his career so well. You know, and he hit the ground running and he burst onto the scene and he was integral to, you know, the Eric Ten Hag reign at Manchester United, and he was absolutely fantastic. You're always going to have a drop-off. Now, he's had some injuries over the past 12 to 18 months that haven't helped him either. And when you've got a new manager coming in with a new system, a new tactics, new formation, you know, it is going to take younger players a little bit longer to maybe bed in. Now, I think that's one of the main reasons why we're finding it so difficult to realise that Manchester United could potentially be open to moving him on. Now, like I said, with the whole Bruno Fernandes situation, what we've also got to take into consideration is if we bring in a new number 6 between now and the end of the transfer window, are they going to be in direct competition again with Kobbie Mainoo? Well, by what the manager is saying, it looks like Kobbie Mainoo's preferred role for the manager is one of the midfielders, which are the two number 6s. And if we go out and buy another one, of course it's going to add more competition for Mainoo. Now, the report says, beyond the interest in Carlos Baleba, the search for a midfielder has focused more on identifying an alternative to Bruno Fernandes, someone who would play alongside Casemiro or Manuel Ugarte. This, according to Amram's latest statement, would impact Mainoo. And it would impact Mainoo. He would have more competition for somebody who's going to come in and potentially play alongside Casemiro and Ugarte. It looks like either one of them are going to start the majority of the games, and it's going to be rotated between the two of them. And then anyone that we bring in is going to be in direct competition with now Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo. So you can understand Kobbie Mainoo's frustration in maybe potentially wanting to leave, because he's saying, well, look, if I haven't got game time under Ruben Amorim so far, then a new player comes in between now and the end of the window, it's going to be even less. Now, I've got to be honest here about Kobbie Mainoo. I love Kobbie Mainoo. I think he's a fantastic footballer, and you know, the ceiling that he's got is very, very high. But I've also got to be realistic here as well. I think Kobbie Mainoo has had a good few chances under Ruben Amorim, and I don't think he's taken them by the scruff of the neck. I really don't. Now, you can say there are mitigating circumstances there. He's been moved from the 6 into the 10, and we've seen him playing in a false 9 role as well. So, you know, there is arguments for on Kobbie Mainoo's side here, but ultimately I don't think he's really took the bull by the horns when he's got his chances under Ruben Amorim and nailed down one of them positions. And a lot of it is coming down to, of course, the whole mobility argument, and does he get around the pitch quick enough? Is he moving the ball quick enough? So on and so forth. And Ruben Amorim has said that, and he said, look, we're working on it with Mainoo day in, day out. But when you're hearing reports that Kobbie Mainoo is not going to sign a new deal at Manchester United, I think it's the start, and you could potentially say the beginning of the end, maybe. I don't want that to happen. I really don't. Will he leave this summer transfer window? I don't think he will. because I don't think Manchester United will move him on. Look, I think if we go out and get a Carlos Baleba, which I don't think we will get between now and the end of the transfer window, then I could see maybe Mainoo being moved on. I don't want that to happen, of course. But ultimately, look, nobody wants to see the academy graduates being moved on. We want to see them being nurtured and flourish within our squad. But I think we've got to be a little bit realistic here as well. If Mainoo doesn't fit the system and he doesn't take his opportunities, then I can ultimately see him leave Manchester United. I think we've got time on our side because he is under contract at United, and I don't think United are in any hurry. They're actually quite happy with Mainoo, and they don't really want to move him on. But if he decides he wants to go and maybe suitable offers come in, then I can see United looking at that and saying, well, what's the net positive here for us? You know, are there players we can get in that will benefit the system more and that will come in and improve our squad? And that's ultimately what you've got to be. You've got to be that ruthless. You really do. But I do reiterate the fact, I want to see Kobbie Mainoo stay, and I don't think he will leave this summer. There will be game time for him this year under Ruben Amorim. There will be a lot of rotation. Now, there's not going to be as many games. And I go back to what I've said previously. This season is massive for him. He has got to take his opportunity when it arises this season. If he does not take his opportunity and he doesn't put a string of performances together, he'll find himself out of the team again. And next summer, you know what's going to happen. He could potentially be moved on. Again, I said I don't want that to happen. It's interesting to see what the next 5 days is going to hold, guys, between now and the end of the transfer window. There's going to be a lot of talk around Kobbie Mainoo. There's going to be a lot of talk, of course, about other players that we've got to move on. He's not in this bomb squad that we're talking about. Garnacho, Anthony, Malacia, Sancho. Absolutely not. I think United are quite comfortable with the situation at the moment. He's still got 2, potentially 3 years left on his deal. And I think United are quite comfortable, you know, and happy for him to stay for at least another season. But like I said, he's got to take the bull by the horns. He's got to forge his own path, and he's got to dictate his own future. And the only way he can do that is by performances on the pitch. He will get them opportunities. Guys, I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you disappointed to hear these reports? Are you disappointed that Kobbie Mainoo may be moved on? Or are you under the impression that, no, look, he's got to be in the same, you know, frame as everybody else, that if he's not taking his chances, and maybe there are potential players out there that we could bring in and move Mainoo on to improve the squad, that we should take it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We're going to get into this in depth tonight, guys. We will be back at 9 o'clock tonight for our transfer talk show, so make sure you're tuning in for that. Any breaking news we'll have between now and then. Smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you on the next one.